All right. Hi everyone, welcome to Kreativ. My name is Jackie. I feel like it's been so long since I've painted with you all. I've been busy working on some commission work, but I'm glad to be here with you today. So today we're going to be painting our favorite emoji. So start thinking about which one makes you happy. I'm going to do this one here with the heart eyes. And of course, just anyone that comes to mind or your favorite one is what you're going to be painting today. One thing I would suggest before we get started is, do you have anything round around you? So I have a paper plate that I'm going to be using. My canvas is a 16 by 20. So if yours is smaller, you're going to look for a smaller round object, maybe like a bowl or even a thing of tape. Of masking tape would be perfect. If you want, you can grab a pencil. The only part I'm going to be doing with pencil is going to be outlining my circle. And today I'm going to be using acrylic paint, and you could be using crayons, markers, whatever makes you happy, and whatever you have is perfect. If you don't have a canvas, if you have some cardboard or even some paper, that will work just as well. I'm going to show you my setup, and I'm going to show you my colors. So the colors I'm using today is white, black, green, blue, purple, pink, orange, yellow, and red. So I have a whole bunch of colors. You could do a limited palette, which means just a couple colors. So just start thinking about making it your own. I'm going to show you one more option for background. If you have been coloring with me, you may have done this with crayons, which is sometimes kind of interesting and cool to use multiple mediums for one particular study. So I'm going to be doing I've done my emoji in crayon, and now I'm going to go ahead and do it in paint. So let me see if I can find that emoji crayon, and I just want to show you a little bit of a different background. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. It's a little kind of cloudy out, but it's not a bad day. Found it. All right. So here is a different way to go about your background. I kind of have this spiral, almost like a tie-dyed look. I did this with crayon, but I could easily do that with my paint as well. I'm going to focus on doing these horizontal lines, and I'm also going to really play with blending today. So this is a fun time to kind of learn some techniques and get them down so you can use them in a different painting later on. But of course, you could do any kind of background you like in any kind of emoji. So in this emoji, I have the little tongue showing, and this one here, I just have the little smile. So make it your own. One more thing. Before I get started, sometimes I like to practice on like a piece of paper my emoji. So if you have a scrap piece of paper, or maybe the paper that's protecting your tabletop, you can practice whatever kind of emoji face you want. So maybe you want the winking one, right? Or maybe one with the tongue sticking out. So start thinking about what emoji you would like to use, and maybe practice on a paper, and just get yourself all set up to go onto the big canvas. If you are using canvas and you're set up, maybe your setup will look something like this. Let me just kind of turn this around if I can. Oh, there it is. All right. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So if you're sitting at a table, you can have, if you'd like, your paint right underneath your canvas. So I like to have my canvas propped up. So even if you have books to put on one end, it's really helpful rather than keeping your canvas laying flat. I also have some paper just covering my table, and I have my paper towel. I have 4 brushes today to play with. I'll be using this one here a lot. This is a nice flat brush. It's about a 1/2 inch. And I also have another flat brush. See how it's flat? This is a smaller one, a little bit more control. And then I have my detail brush, which is a round bristle brush. And this is going to get some nice detailed marks as well. So paper towel, paper protecting my table. I have my palette with all my colors on it. You can keep black off your palette for now if you'd like. I also have another paper plate to trace with. And I have a pencil but you don't need one. And I have my water. So if you're sitting at your easel on your table, I'll just have my paint directly underneath. So I'm just going to be looking up and down at my paint. And what else? I think that is it. I'm using acrylic Craft Smart paint today, but anything will be perfect. So we kind of planned out what emoji we're doing, and I drew it out so I know what I'm going to be doing. And now we're going to get started. So I have my canvas going the long way up and down, and let's see. And I'm going to grab my round circle. So depending on how big your paper is, if you're using paper, maybe like a masking tape, where's mine? Maybe something like this, a masking tape or a bowl or glass to trace, or you could just do this freehand. I'm going to use my paper plate, and I'm going to think about where I want the placement of my emoji. So when you are painting, you just think about the whole picture, right? And do I want my emoji to be up high, over to the side, down low? Do I want, in my big canvas, do I want a whole bunch of emojis? That'd be kind of cool. But just kind of think about it, maybe even practice on your paper before, just your layout, before going up on your canvas. So I'm ready. So I'm going to grab I have my plate, and I'm going to use a Sharpie to trace my circle just so you can see a little bit better. But pencil, or if you don't have a pencil, you also could use maybe a yellow paint, and I would use my flat brush and using that edge of the brush. So when we're holding our brush, I hold it nice and low like a pen or a pencil, and then I'll think about the edge of my brush. Which direction, how am I using that brush? So I want to ride on the edge like an ice skate, right? To get a nice thin line. So I'm going to practice with my hand first, the placement, where I want my emoji to be. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a Sharpie. You sure can, or you can use a pencil or even your paintbrush. And I'm going to hold it. Maybe if there's someone there to hold it for you. Teamwork is the best. So I'm going to just start tracing. Now slow down, because the mark you make is what's going to come out on your canvas, right? So I'm going to slow it down so I have a nice round circle. All right, there it is. So I'm going to put my cap back on my Sharpie. If you're using one, go ahead and do that too. And I'm going to put my extra plate away. And now I'm going to start thinking about my background. So I'm going to play with blending, and I'm going to think about what color blends into what color. So start thinking about almost mixing colors, right? How do you make orange, yellow and red? How do you make green, blue and yellow? Just start thinking about those combinations and how colors kind of can blend into one another. I am also going to think about how thick do I want my stripes of color. Do I want a whole bunch of these stripes? Do I want just a couple? Start thinking about how many colors you want to incorporate into your background, and then think about how many stripes you're going to need to fit all of those colors. I am going to be using my white grip brush, which is this one here. It is a flat brush, and I'm going to hold it nice and low like a pen or a pencil. And I'm also going to start thinking about which direction I want my lines to go, my stripes to go. Do you want them to go from this way? Do you want them to go flat across? Do you want them to have like a wiggle? Start thinking about that. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to dip my brush right on into, hi everyone, how are you today? Hi Brittany, I hope you're doing well. Sarah, Lauren, hi guys. I have a few events coming up for adults. I have one tonight at 4. Of course, you can watch those anytime after the event is posted, and also with this one here. So if you know a kiddo that would like to do this painting, if you want to share, that would be super awesome, and I totally appreciate that. So share with someone you know would love this, because they can rewatch this at a later time. So blending, here we go. Hi, how are you? Yes, it is a fun painting. I hope you're doing well. I'm going to start in my top corner, and I'm going to dip on into that red paint. I'm going to start by adding right in that corner, and I'm just going to think about the how wide or how thick I want my stripe to be. Then I'm going to go just a little bit bigger, because when we're blending, I'm going to blend one color into the other, so it's going to make my stripe of pure color going to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and it's going to get smaller. All right. So I have my red, and also with the acrylic paint, if you're using acrylic paint, I really don't need water to make the paint move. I only need it when I really need my paintbrush to be nice and clean. And in this painting, I'm actually going to be using a lot of just my paper towel, wiping off and going to my next color. Because we're blending, we are going to be mixing colors, welcoming the color from above to mix into our next color. But lots of wiping. So if you have a rag or even a paper towel, perfect to have handy, because we're going to do some wiping off. Give my brush a quick little wipe. Not going to go crazy, because I want to welcome some of that red in there. So I have my red, and now I'm going to dip right on into my orange paint. Now with blending, I want to work with the paint while it is wet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my paint on my canvas, and I have another stripe. So I have my red, I have a little bit of the dry canvas, and then I have my stripe. And I'm just going to work it out just a little bit more to get a little bit of that extra paint off my brush. If you want, you can give it a quick little wipe. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that orange edge, and I'm going to start working it into the bottom edge of the red. And this is actually a really fun painting for all ages, and definitely will help with blending. If you, no matter what age, to learn blending is very important for painting. So there we go. I took that top edge of the orange, and I brushed up and down the same direction I was going, right on into that red paint. Now I can say, do I want to extend that orange out anymore? Maybe a little bit. I'm going to wipe my brush off just a little, and I am going to dip into the yellow paint. Just need a little bit more. The yellow paint, and I'm going to start right next to it, leaving a little stripe of the white. I'm going to work getting a little bit of that. If I have a lot of orange on there, just give your brush another wipe. But I'm just going to work that down just a little bit. I'm getting close to my little emoji. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and rub the edge of my yellow into the edge of my orange. And I'm just going to lightly go back and forth, working my way down that stripe, letting it blend right on in to the orange. If I need a little bit more yellow, I can just grab a little bit more yellow, wake up that paint, and go back up into that orange. Now, if you're doing this with colored pencil, you're going to want to do a lot of layering and a lot of light layers and playing with pressure. So you can definitely do it with crayons. You definitely can do it with colored pencils and even markers as well. So when I get close to my emoji, I'm going to just outline that small space. I'm not going to outline more than what I'm working with or around, but I'm just going to outline it to clean up the edge, and then kind of just clean up the stripe here. Now think about your diagonal. My diagonal was getting a little off, so I'm going to just kind of straighten it up using my paintbrush to kind of guide me for that angle. And my next color that I'm going to be using is going to be green. Now You could go back and just do red, orange, yellow, and then continue that, or you can go any combination you like. But I think my next color is going to be green. I'm going to welcome that yellow on my brush, dip on into the green paint, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep a stripe, a little space between the green and yellow, green and yellow. If you have any orange on your brush, you can give it a quick little wipe or wash. I'm just going to lift the top of my easel. And now I'm going to brush it out a little bit, just getting the extra paint, spreading it out. If I'm close to my emoji, I'm going to do a little outline and then pull. And now I'm going to do that blend. This is so much fun. I love blending. So I'm grabbing the top edge of my green, I'm working it into my yellow and just letting it kind of disappear and mix. I'm also playing with the amount of pressure I'm putting on my brush. When I blend, I find that I put very little pressure, so almost like tickling, so just very lightly touching the tips of your bristles. And I'm going to go back in. My paint's drying quick today. So grabbing that edge of that green, working it into the color above. And I'm just thinking about that angle as well. Every once in a while, kind of step back and see what's happening. So I think I'm going to just kind of straighten this up. And just using my paintbrush to kind of guide me for that angle. I'm going to put down my top now. If it will. There we go. So remember, if your canvas is in an easel, it's not stuck there. So if it's not comfortable, in a comfortable position, you can always take it out and move it or turn it upside down. When I paint with my painting upside down quite a bit. I find that it helps with, you know, when I'm painting from a photo, I don't want to look at the photo as the object. I want to just look at it as shapes of colors. So by turning it upside down, it's really helpful. Next color, blue. I'm going to go directly on into my blue. I'm using a turquoise. Same thing. Let's leave a little stripe of white canvas. Bringing it down. Bringing it up. And again, you can really play with your size of your stripes, the direction. I'm just going to give my brush a quick little wash because I have some orange in there. And now that I'm using cool colors, I'm going to, I don't want that warm orange mixing in. All right, so I'm going to go continue on, dipping in. I'm getting close to my little emoji head. I'm just going to trace and go up and down. I'm trying not to paint inside of this circle here, but if I do, that's totally fine. We can clean that up. I'm going to go right on into my green, thinking about how much pressure, thinking about the direction, maybe thinking about how you're using your brush. So not only are you creating a beautiful piece, but also you are really practicing and mastering the blend, and blending is so important. I use it in every painting, almost every painting. All right, I think I'm going to bring that out just a little bit more. I'm going to jump on this side here. There we go. And of course, you could add white to these to make it more of like a pastel or a nice soft kind of rainbow. All right, that looks good to me. Next step, I'm going to go right on into my purple, doing the same thing, adding that stripe, down here, thinking about the angle of my line, cleaning up right around that edge of that circle, coming on down. I like to brush out if I do outline at all. I like to brush down so I don't see that line from where I traced the edge. And now I'm going to start blending that edge of that purple right on into the edge of my turquoise, letting it just mix and blend away. I'm going to go right up here. I might need to wake up that paint with a little bit more. And I'm going to go right on into that blue. Again, my paint's drying really fast today. So when you are working with this kind of like blending technique, you want to be aware of how much of a space, how big of a space you're working on, so you can have, you know, the control of letting that paint mix while it is wet. So I'm just going to continue making this stripe just a little bit bigger. And you've noticed that when I blend, that pure color stripe gets a little bit smaller because of the mix of one color into the other. So this is still a great time to think about which emoji you would like to do. All right, my next color, I'm going to dip right on into the pink paint. Same thing, stripe. Just a little bit of that white canvas showing. If you're close to your emoji, I'm just going to outline that, and then I'll pull it out and I'll blend the edge of the pink into the edge of the purple until it just kind of blends away. Nice mix. So my goal here is kind of eliminating the solid stripe and just letting it kind of flow from one color to the other. I'm going to give my brush a quick little wipe off. So wipe, wash, wipe, because I really want my pink to have a nice pure pink stripe. So I had like my mixture, and now I want this pink to really stand out. And if you don't have pink, you could use red with white. Bring it out just a little bit further. And again, you could do just a couple colors, 2 colors, 3 colors. You could do just like black and white. That'd be cool. Next color, going back, and I'm going to go right on into maybe my red, adding that, blending it into the edge of my pink, drawing that line, blending into the pink. And my last color that I'm going to get in there is going to be my orange. But you're going to notice that in my finished piece, I made it all the way back to green. So it's kind of interesting to see, you know, what, or just be okay with whatever your canvas kind of wants, right? So let me just kind of pull you back and show you both of mine and how they're just a little bit different. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to give my brush a quick wipe, wash, wipe. And we're going to jump right on into adding our yellow combination into our center for our emoji. Maybe if yours is a different color, think about maybe are there multiple colors in the base of your emoji, or is it one solid? In mine here, I'm going to be using some yellow, some white, and I'm also going to be using some orange on the edges, just give it a little bit of like a roundness. So I cleaned my brush off, and I am going to start working with my white grip brush again, and I'm going to dip on into the white paint and into that yellow. So the white will really just help with coverage, and my yellow is because that's the color I'm going to use. And so I'm starting to fill in. And I'm just going up and down. You want a good amount of paint. So when you're painting, it should move nice and easily across your surface. So if you don't have enough paint, sometimes it gets a little tough on how to get that paint to kind of move across. I'm just cleaning up my edge. And if I have any wet paint from my background that's in my circle, maybe grab a little piece of paper towel and just give it a little wipe out, and then let it dry for a second, and then you can cover it. Because you don't want to smudge, you know, your blue or purple into your bright yellow. So I'm just going right around the edge here. Taking my time, really thinking about how I'm using my brush. Still, I could change, you know, I don't have to do this one here. I could do maybe the winking one, or the one that's sticking out its tongue. Start thinking, or the one with the sunglasses would be fun. And I'm just working it. Any big puddles of paint, I'm just kind of blending out. All right, just like we did in our background with the blend, I'm going to go ahead and blend in while my paint is still wet. I'm going to take my brush as is, and I'm just going to put a little bit of orange right on my brush. And I'm going to, actually, I might wipe it off a little bit, just kind of blending it on my brush and just getting the extra off. Now I'm going to go ahead in on the edge. If I need a little bit more, I can grab it. But I'm focusing on the edge, and I'm going to blend, but I'm going around that circle. Okay, now I'm just going to give my brush a quick little wipe. And now I'm going to blend in the edge of my orange into my yellow. If I need to grab some yellow to help blend, I can definitely do that. So I'm just softening so it's not like an orange stripe, it's just an orange tint to my yellow, which kind of gives it a rounded feel, which I like. You could just totally go yellow if you didn't want to add or don't have any orange. That is not a problem. So I think that looks great. I'm going to let this dry just for a moment, and we can kind of just really think about what we want our emoji to be, if we want to add our hashtag, or if we want to add anything else to our background. I would really, a few ideas, maybe adding some black outlines of like flowers or polka dots, or of a whole bunch of words that make me happy. Or you could do another little emoji faces here and there, whatever you'd like. So really just start thinking about it. If you have that piece of scrap paper by you, practice whatever you're planning on putting up on your canvas on your paper first, just to kind of have an idea before you go up with your paintbrush. So I'm just letting this dry for a moment, and I'm going to switch my brush. I'm going to go to my long, which is just going to be a smaller flat brush, and this one here, but any brush would be perfect. Also, a detail brush would be great for our next couple steps because we're going to be kind of drawing out our face. Also, when you are working on paintings, think about what layer is on top of what, which step first. So in my painting here, I am going to do the red first, get those layers down. I'm probably going to do 2 layers. Then I'll go in with my black. If I were doing this little face, this little mouth here, I would draw maybe my mouth in red or in orange, and then fill in all of my reds first, doing as many coats as needed. Then on top of that drawing I did, the sketch, I would go in with the black later once it dries. Being patient when painting is important because you want your colors to really stand out. So if I want my black to be on top of my red, I need my red to be dry so it will stay on top. If I want it to be more blended, like we did in our background and in our emoji face, I definitely want to use the paint while it is wet. So patience and really planning. I know sometimes it's like I just want to paint, but it's helpful. So I'm just letting this dry just for a moment, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my palette. Again, I'm using a smaller brush just so I have a little bit more control. And I'm going to show you my edge of my brush just so you really see how I'm going about. Sometimes like I just want to paint. All right. Here we go. All right, so I have my brush here, and I'm just going to grab my big brush just to show you my edge. So here is the edge of my brush, right? The whole bottom of my brush. I could use the whole width of it, right? Or I could use that edge. And when I'm drawing or needing a little bit more control, I really find that using the edge of my brush is super helpful. So let's just picture this for a moment. So here's our canvas. Here, or actually let's pretend this is ice, okay? And this is our ice skate, right? Our toe is right here. This is the bottom of our ice skate. Our foot is in it, and I'm gonna go ice skating. So when I'm ice skating, my whole blade of my ice skate is flat, and all I do is slide, right? And my toe is in charge, so wherever that toe goes, the whole bottom of my skate is going to turn with it. So keeping it nice and flat is going to get you a really nice thin line. The more pressure you put on your brush is going to make the mark bigger. The less pressure, the thinner the mark. Another trick with a flat brush is once I dip it on into the paint, I like to wipe it off on both flat sides. What this does is, think of when you have a nice sharp ice skate, you can really go nice and easily through the ice, right? If it's a dull one, it's harder to get that thin line or skate on that ice. So you want to have a nice sharp bottom of your brush and just stand it up and slide. All right, so let me go back to my canvas. It's nice and dry now. I'm going to be using my flat long brush, and I'm going to start using my finger as well to really plan out the placement of the my eyes, my mouth, whatever accessories are on your emoji. I like to just use my paint rather than using a pencil because I find when we use pencil, we're too hard on ourselves and we erase and all that. When you're painting, you have to be confident and you just plan, look, and then go ahead and paint. So I'm going to, whatever makes, feels good to you. So I'm going to kind of think about where I want my eyes to be in my painting. And I find that my hearts are on like a little bit of an angle. So I have a kind of a plan of the placement and the angle. So placement and my angles. And now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go on this side here, and I'm going to draw my eyes on. I'm going to do hearts. So I'm using the edge of my brush. And sometimes I like to make my shape a little smaller at first so I can make it bigger. To make any changes, just some wiggle room. If you're a little nervous about adding your eyes with your paintbrush, if you just use maybe the yellow and just get it down with the yellow, and you'll see where it's wet and not see, and then have the opportunity to change things on this side now. And I'm going to add this one. And my goal is kind of try to get them almost the same size. Really thinking about that edge of my brush, thinking about how I'm holding it. And I'm going to clean that up in just a moment. And your canvas will kind of tell you what it wants. And my black outline will really help clean up too. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and give my first coat. And I'm just kind of following my shape. So think about which color, which layer is first. And just being patient with letting it dry in between layers. I'm going to do 2 coats of red to really make it pop. Alright. So just going to wait 1 minute just to let that dry. Cleaning up any of the puddles of paint if I have any. Alright, so I would wait and just get a second coat in there just to make it nice and bright. But I'm going to go ahead and start working on my little mouth. So my mouth is made up of 2 kind of U's, right, shapes, and I'm going to be using that edge of my brush. I'm going to dip on into the black paint. And I'm wiping on both flat sides, just getting all the extra paint off and smushing my bristles to make them nice and tight. I'm also going to use my finger, and I'm going to practice making that curve. And I am going to take a deep breath, stand my brush right on my canvas, and just create that little smile. I think that looks super cute just as is, but I'll make that one like this. So now I'm going to add another one from the corner to corner. Just kind of cleaning it up. Take a step back. Adding a little bit more paint right here just to clean up my edge. And now I'm going to go ahead and fill in. If you were going to do your tongue, I would have done my red first. Or if you decide, oh, maybe I do want to add a little tongue, you can let your black dry completely and then paint it right on top. But the trick is just to really let it dry. I'm just going to bring this down just a little further. Cleaning up my edge. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to outline my circle. And you can make this more comfortable by putting it flat or holding it on your lap. And I'm just going to stand my brush up and just slide it across. using the whole bottom, and it will tell you when you need to dip again. Dip on in, wipe on both flat sides, stand your brush up. That toe or corner is in charge. Dipping again, lots of dipping. If your hand is clean and your background is dry, you can definitely put your hand down there. Just be really aware of, your hand and that background because you don't want to smudge. Go on this side here. Adding a little bit more paint, wiping on both flat sides, standing my brush up. Just really being aware of where I'm painting, how I'm holding my brush, and the amount of pressure. So much to think about, but it's all good things. All right, nice. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to outline my eyes, which are my hearts. If they needed a second coat, I would give my brush a whitewash wipe or grab another brush, give them a second coat, and then go ahead and add my outline. But I am going to just take a deep breath and outline my eyes. And I'm outlining kind of in and on the edge of my red. So I might have to do 2 coats or may decide to do 2 coats just to really make that black really pop. Or you can welcome that little bit of a blend. Also, if you're like, I just can't get my thin line, if your canvas is completely dry, you could use a Sharpie. But I think you got this. So just really practice standing your brush up and just sliding it. All right. Turning my brush or picking it up and getting that comfy angle. All right. So writing with your paintbrush is very different than using a pen or pencil. So I like to practice on my paper first, and I really want to plan out the amount of space needed so my letters have enough room to sit comfortably on the canvas. Maybe, practice a few different types of lettering, maybe in cursive and in big bold letters or bubble letters, and really just play with your brush and see how different it is to use a paintbrush rather than your pen or pencil. And then I'm going to use my finger one more time and just really practice the placement of each letter, making sure I have enough room on my canvas. And now I'm loading my paint up, wiping on both flat sides, and I'm going to go ahead and add my little hashtag, and mine is going to be love, but you could do whatever makes you happy. So here we go. Using that edge of my brush that we've been practicing. And again, your brush will tell you when you need to dip again. And sometimes my mark isn't totally solid, so I'll need to just give it a second coat, and that's fine. One other thing is sometimes my brush gets lots of paint on it and then I get a hard time getting a thin line. I just need to wipe it off, maybe give it a quick wash, and then go dip right back into my paint, and I will be able to get that nice thin line once again. So I have my hashtag. Now I'm going to write the word love. Practicing, making sure I have enough room. And I know I can go back and clean up my letters if they're not totally solid. L-O-V and an E. And then I'm going to just kind of stand back and see if I want to add anything else to my painting, but I think that looks great. And that was a lot of fun. We really focused on our blend and our line work. Please feel free to share your image, your painting with me in a private message or here in our comments and share with some friends. And I hope you had fun. I did. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message, even a picture of your work with the question, and I would be more than happy to give you some help with that. And yeah, all right. Bye, my friends. Have a wonderful day.